Chef James Martin and the battle with a terrible disease. In late 2017, celebrity chef James Martin was enjoying a successful career as host of ITV's Saturday Morning. However, his personal life was in crisis. He had just faced the death of his grandfather, a burglary at home and an unexpected, fatal illness, facial cancer. This diagnosis came after a series of personal events, leaving James feeling like he was being pushed to the brink. He underwent many surgeries and painful treatments, but the disease kept recurring, making him feel like he was fighting for his life. While dealing with his illness, James was also under pressure from work. A small incident during the filming of Saturday Morning caused him to lose his temper and act out of control. This led to negative reactions from his colleagues and the production company. James later acknowledged his actions and publicly apologized. He shared that the stress in his personal life had affected his mental and behavioral state. After more than 6 years of battling the disease, James finally received good news. The disease was under control and he felt healthy again. He shared that he had lost 3 stone, about 19 kilograms, and felt like a new person. With his health restored, James began to expand his career into the business sector, including opening a pub in the Cotswolds. He also shared that he had changed his outlook on life, no longer focusing on the negative but looking towards a brighter future. With his health and spirit restored, James continued to do what he loved, cooking and inspiring others. He shared that he has learned many valuable lessons from his journey of fighting the disease, including appreciating every moment in life and never giving up hope. James Martin's story is a testament to the power of will and resilience. Despite facing severe challenges, he still got up and kept going, inspiring millions of people around the world. Darkness and light. Winter in the English countryside always has a gentle sadness, but for James, that year was the coldest winter of his life. Although his condition had stabilized, he often dreamed of lying on an operating table, a bright white light shining directly into his eyes, where painful memories appeared without warning. He lived alone in an old house in Hampshire, which had once been a peaceful place to return to, but now became a place for him to face the big questions. Why me? Why am I still alive? And, can I still love someone? One day, while cleaning out an old warehouse, James stumbled upon an old box of handwritten letters from fans over the course of his 20-year career. He began to read each letter. Each word seemed to contain love, gratitude, and sometimes even stories from strangers whose hearts his cooking had warmed. One letter made him pause for a long time. I used to suffer from severe depression after losing my mother. But every Saturday morning, watching you cook on TV, I felt like she was still there. Your baked goods helped me through my darkest days. James burst into tears. That night, James did not sleep. He jumped up, grabbed a pen and paper, and began to write, not a recipe, not an apology, but a letter to himself. Dear James, it's time to forgive. Forgive yourself for losing your temper. Forgive yourself for being weak. Forgive yourself for not giving yourself a chance to be loved. You've been through hell, and you are still standing here. That's victory. The next morning, he drove to the old hospital where he'd had his surgeries. No longer a patient, he arrived with a tray of blueberry tartlets, a favorite of the nurses that had promised to make when he recovered. Hi, I am James. I owe you a debt of gratitude. A month later, James accepted an offer to appear on Celebrity Kitchen Revival, a charity show featuring chefs who had survived a crisis. For his first taping, he stood on stage with a spotlight shining on his face, where he had once had a surgical scar. He didn't hide it. No more heavy makeup. He lets viewers see his true self, imperfect, but strong. Life, James said in an interview, is like a dish. Sometimes it's too spicy, sometimes it's too salty. But if you're patient, listen, and adjust, it can end up being the best thing you've ever tasted. The show was a huge success. Not just the dish, but James himself, the main dish, who overcame illness, prejudice, and even his own dark side to become a symbol of strength and healing. The last dish. It was a mild spring day. The wind carried the scent of young grass and the warm sunlight covered everything in a golden glow. James stood in the small glass kitchen at the end of his garden, where he usually cooked meals for himself after work every day. Today was more special. He was preparing a small party. Not for work, not for television, but for a girl. Anna, a name that had been a silent scar in his heart for many years. They had been passionately in love when James was a young chef, not yet famous. Anna was a travel photographer. She loved simplicity, meals on the lawn, and stories told with her eyes. But when fame came, he was absorbed in the spotlight, while she chose to follow the call of the world. They parted without a word of reproach, leaving only a silence that was never filled. Then one day, Anna texted after hearing about James's illness. "I don't know if you remember the smell of wine in Florence that year. But I have never forgotten it." Anna arrived at 6 p.m. She was still the same, long hair, deep eyes, a smile as gentle as autumn. James suddenly felt nervous, like a boy cooking in front of his lover for the first time. He led her into the kitchen, where a simple table was set, garlic toast, truffle pasta, and a bottle of the red wine they had drunk together years ago. Anna watched him as James bustled around the kitchen. "You still wear your apron backwards?" She laughed. James blushed. "I call it style." They both laughed. The sound was soft and strangely warm, as if the years had never passed. When dessert was served, panna cotta with strawberry sauce, James paused. It was the last dish he had made for his mother before she died, and it was one he had not made again in more than a decade. Anna looked at him with a look that knew better than words. "You are sharing a very deep part of yourself, aren't you?" James nodded. "I am not afraid of it anymore." They ate in silence. But it was a silence of connection, not avoidance. After dinner, they went out into the garden. James handed Anna a small notebook. "I am writing a book, not a cookbook, but a diary of someone who has had cancer, who has been lonely, who has been desperate, and learned to live again." Anna flipped through a few pages. The handwriting was scribbled but sincere. He wrote in part, "If one day I can no longer cook, I just hope I can still write. Write about food, write about love, write about the woman who once made me want to slow down and watch the sunset together."